Hello again. So the question I quite often get asked is, are you fit enough, or am I fit enough to do a bikepacking race or an ultra endurance cycling event? And well, in almost all cases, the people that ask me are fit enough to do so, and actually end up doing really well and exceeding their expectations. Sometimes with a bit of help, sometimes on their own. But if you're not sure, you can sort of do a few things to try and figure it out. So think about the best way to ride a bikepacking event is to have a schedule, a daily schedule. So you might ride for 10 to 12 hours per day and use the rest of the time for recovery. So that when I say 10 to 12 hours or even 16 hours or 20 hours per day, what I mean is that's your block of riding time. And you probably will have stops within that. You'll have to buy food. You might stop for a meal, you might stop for a coffee, but that's your sort of riding time. And the time that's not riding time, if you say you're doing 12 hours a day, the other 12 hours a day are your recovery time. So when you sleep and do all your messing about and change your clothes or whatever, and eat a sort of more substantial meal rather than on the bike type food which you might be having during your riding time. If it's a short event, you may go for 16 to 18 hours a day, and then you would have 6 to 8 hours recovery time. But remember, in your recovery time, you have to build in a bit of messing about time. And if it's a longer event, you might have 12 to 16 hours of riding time, which would give you 8 to 12 hours of recovery time. So once you've got a rough idea of what daily schedule you're going to ride to, then you can do a test. So go out and ride for a day for the time that you expect, the duration that you're aiming for in your daily schedule. And if that works, then great, you can do one day, and you can plan to do a 2-day test. And if you can do 2 days according to your daily schedule, then the chances are you can manage to do the duration of your event. I mean, you might end up having to take a slightly easier day or have a bit more rest on certain days, but you'll be able to then do the event. So then you can make a judgment as to whether you're fit enough. So are you fit enough? You can decide that. And basically, that's the thing. If you can do your daily schedule, then you're fit enough. Or perhaps you're nearly fit enough. So, or the test doesn't go quite as planned. So what can you do to make things work for you? Obviously, you've got to cover a certain distance in your daily duration, otherwise you're not going to the finish within the time frame of your goals. And that's obviously a personal goal. Some people aim to, some people are aiming to win, some people are just aiming to finish, and some people are aiming to finish before the party. There's usually a party at the end of the event. So that's got to be factored in. If you find that you aren't able to ride to your daily schedule, but you're riding faster than you need to, then you could try riding slower, and that might make the difference between being able to ride to your schedule and not ride to your schedule. And you still might make the distance that you need. If you aren't able to make the distance and you don't have you can't do the durations, then you have to think again, really. Is it possible to revise your expectations so that you take a bit longer to do the event, in which case you might be fit enough? Or is it possible to train if you've got a certain period of time to train? Is it possible to train so that you can get faster during the duration of your planned routine? Or if you're not able to ride at the given speed to extend the endurance such that you can ride at that speed for longer. And then you should perhaps refer to some of my other videos. I did a video on how to train for a bikepacking race, and that'll give you some information about how to train to improve your performance and therefore get you to that point where you need to be to complete the event. The other way to look at it, the other thing to look at, which I quite like, which I've discussed with many of the athletes that I work with, we normally have, when I coach an athlete, we have a one-to-one, maybe every 4 to 6 weeks. And one of the things people initially are quite attached to is success or failure. But what are the consequences of failure? So think about what failure is and what are the consequences of it. And if there's a reasonable chance you can do it, but you're not sure, why not? It's an adventure, and why are you doing it? You're doing it to have an adventure, find out about yourself. And if you don't make it to the finish, you don't make it to the finish. And if you do make it to the finish, you do make it to the finish. And it's not, whether you get to the finish or not, is not the world-changing event. But the journey towards the finish and the journey towards the start also is part of this adventure. So my answer is usually, why not? What's the risk? What happens if it goes wrong? Well, you've had a great adventure. You've had seen some places in the world that you probably wouldn't have seen otherwise. And you've learned a lot about yourself, and you're that bit fitter and better prepared for the next time you want to try another of these types of events. So have a go, good luck. If I can help you in any way, let me know, and in the comments, send me an email, send a message on Facebook, whatever, and I'll do my best to help you get to that start line and get to the finish line. If you like this video, please subscribe and click the bell so that you get a reminder for others, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.